Okay. I call to order the January 11th, 2023 special board meeting, budget working session at 6:15. Primary purpose of this meeting is to discuss the agenda items listed below. Any additional business must be approved by a vote if all members are present. All members are not present, so no further business can be added to the agenda. Items to be discussed tonight are budgets related to the ambulance fund, the fire fund, and the road fund, and any unfinished business from the meeting of 1/4/23. There is unfinished business there, which is to complete the Torch Lake Township pay schedule for the fiscal year of 2023 through 2024 for the ambulance and fire funds. Any questions, board?
I couldn't make out what you said for, we have unfinished work from 1/4.
Oh, from the 1/4/23 meeting, last
What's missing?
Last Wednesday's meeting.
Right.
We did not fill out the right-hand side of the pay sheet.
Yes, got it. I got it. Okay, I hear you. I know what it is.
The fire and ambulance side.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
So that's why when I did the agenda, I put that item on
Yep,
there so
yep.
we could recapture it. We probably could have said, hey, that's all part of the budget, but I just,
That's
I'm
fine.
not messing around. So Kevin, welcome. Join us at the front. So the first fund that we have is the ambulance fund. You have,
Did you ask for public comment?
oh, not yet. Any public comment? Michael?
Now you're done. Okay.
All right.
Now you can go to 3.
And since it's a working session, we don't have to approve the agenda. We haven't approved it in the
Okay.
past.
Do we need minutes?
You will need minutes. And it's being recorded, so you're all set.
Yep.
So this package here is one that Michael put together. And I have reflected that in the larger sheet of paper that you have. In the large paper, we start out in the left-hand column. We have the actual April through December results. Then I've included an estimate for the total year for 22-23 based on, what the run rates are or what it would appear we would have in any special case. Then I reflect what we did in 21-22 for the prior year, what our original budget is, and so that Sharon feels comfortable, I've included the line for the amended budget because we did amend the budget for a couple of items back in January, if I remember correctly. The variances, I'm not too worried about the variances. The analysis is just what we did last year. Anything less than $5,000, we're not going to worry about. It's the items that are over $5,000. And you will see on the first page, if you look down, we've got fire as the first one. I'm sorry, ambulance first. If you look at them at the first item, anything that says review in the column is an item that we have to discuss. That way, we're not trying to go line by line and get sidetracked. The idea here is the vast majority of our expenses are greater than $5,000, and that's, in last year when we did that, we found that to be expeditious for us getting through things. So the current, if you look at the page that Sharon prepared for us, Alan, this one, it's this one.
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
Yep. So on the bottom there, she has what the current items will be as far as the asset base and whether or not it's the personal property and the other one, whatever it's called, is personal property and a real estate property, right?
Real and personal.
Yeah.
Oh. mhm.
So those two impact the general fund and the road fund. The fire and the ambulance is strictly the real
Special-
property.
Special assessments doesn't get personal property tax,
Yeah. Okay.
tax dollars.
Now, when we did the work on the motions to raise fire, we indicated that that would take place in the 2023 timeframe and not the 2022. But what I have done for just purposes of looking at what that would look like today, if we take a look at the ambulance fund up in the revenue section, other revenue,
Well, we're going to collect that in 23.
yeah, well, that's right, but it's end of 23.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right, Sharon.
We are going to collect it, but it's not going to be until December. But
Okay.
it's for the calendar year taxes of 23.
Yep. Well, I broke it out
Okay.
separately so that we could see how much we would be putting in against our new ambulance. And then when we get down to the bottom of those expenses, in the right-hand side, I've got a breakdown what the ambulance costs, how much the ambulance fund put into the thing, how much the general fund is, and how much the millage will come out. And that way we'll know what the balance is at the end of fiscal year 23-24. And we may be able to pay off the general fund at that time in March if we have excess
Where's
funds.
that, where's that section about with the ambulance? The second page?
It's second page,
At the
bottom
bottom?
right. You
Okay.
see that little section there? I've got costs, the ambulance fund, the general fund, what the millage is estimated to be, and what the balance will be at the end of this fiscal year. So we would hopefully $33,690 back to the general fund. And if we have a sufficient enough surplus, I would say we ought to be paying off that debt to the general fund.
Okay.
Pages are kind of mixed in with fire and ambulance, so you have to get those straightened out.
3 and 4 are EMS, and
Yes.
1 and 2 are fire.
Right. That's what I was looking at. I'm thinking, okay, this don't match for me.
You all right now?
Yeah.
All right. So,
I'm not quite right yet. Hang on a
all
minute.
right, that's fine.
You've got, hang on.
You're on page,
I'm on page 2 of 206.
no,
No.
you need to
You
go to
need to
page
be on-
4.
That's the
Page
fire.
four.
Page 4 of shows 206 as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
all right.
misspoke.
Oh, I see what you did.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So this, okay, start explaining again.
yeah. So the idea is we borrowed money from the general fund to buy the ambulance and pay
Okay.
cash for it. So what we did was, the cost was $305,550. The ambulance fund kicked in $140,550. We borrowed from the general fund $165,000. And then the millage that will be allocated for the capital, if you'll remember, we took that up, I think, 0.4
Mhm.
for the ambulance. It was 0.75 for the fire fund. So at the end of fiscal year 23-24, we will still have an outstanding loan to the general fund of $33,000.
And that's going to come back to us from the ambulance fund.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
We don't know yet how it'll work.
we're not sure, but during the course of the year, fiscal year, so it's not like we wouldn't be able to pay that off at some point.
Okay.
Well, it
Gotcha.
says in our minutes, ambulance special assessment rate from 1.85 mils to 2.25. effective 2023, with a millage allocation of 82% applied to the ambulance fund operating expense and 18 applied to the ambulance capital outlay. I don't know where 40 came from. What was 40?
40 base, we increased it from 1.85 to 2.25. And
I
that's
thought
0.4.
that didn't look right. That's why I'm searching. I'm thinking, okay, the basis point. I thought you were allocating your stuff there. Okay.
All right.
That didn't sound right to me.
You
Thank
okay
you.
now?
So far,
All
I'm
right.
keying in.
So, Michael, I will let you start with the expenses. I handed them out our worksheet so that at least you can go through the individuals if you wish. I think at least that gives them a basis of how we went about doing it. Just so everybody knows, this worksheet is a work in process that Michael and I worked on separately, but this will give you the basic costs that he is recommending for us.
Is that this last page in that bundle?
Yes, yep, in that group. Well, you can start with that. Well, it's the last page of
The
your
worksheet.
package. That's why I handed out that package. It's easier, Ellen, you got this one. It's easier for them to see that, and then I translated that into the model.
So which are we actually going to look at? The
We're gonna look at
littler
this
one?
the small one first.
Thank you.
Sharon, it's up to you, but this is a lot easier to read unless you,
Well, I've got some of my own notes here.
okay. Yeah,
Which one are you looking at? With a yellow.
yeah, I just gave you that. There you are. All right,
Okay. There's on the left-hand side is the major columns, and on the middle is the descriptions that Bob had put into your BSNA software. But basically, under payroll expenses, that gives you your approximate total, and that's based on the 5% proposed recommended wage increase that's been talked about for this year. So that's your total payroll expense. Moving on down under employee benefits, that's of course a percentage based on your FTEs and your full-time employees and so on. Professional fees is my fee, Acumen's fee, insurance bonding. We do not have intercept fees anymore because we don't intercept. We might charge if somebody wants us to, if we intercept with a basic life support unit. That may have come up once, and we intercepted with BLS of Central Lake with BAA because their ALS unit was out, and that would happen to her about 2 months ago. And
Is miscellaneous fees in there, like trash and all that stuff in that column?
yeah, it's underneath here.
Okay.
Mike, when I go back up to your payroll expenses here,
Sure.
you show 496,000, 600,000 roughly. And when you take a look at your hourly, it's 471. And the difference in payroll is what? Oh, wait, excuse me. You show for your hourly people on this sheet, this employee sheet, a total proposed for roughly $471,500. But when I look at the yearly payroll, it shows 496.
the difference there, Alan,
What's the difference?
it's in his number of 476, he did not include the PTO or the holiday time, which on the small page is 14,946
Right.
and 10,201. When you add those two numbers together, it's roughly 25,000. So when you add the 25 to the 471, that gets you the 496.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Yep.
Where's the OT time at?
There's two places for overtime. The one overtime is the weekly overtime that's scheduled, that's here. And then over here, we put 5% in for unscheduled overtime, and that's 20,000.
Is that enough?
Unscheduled overtime should be,
Oh, unscheduled.
unscheduled is 5%. Scheduled overtime, I didn't put a percentage in there, that is scheduled every week.
Right, so where's that dollar at?
That is down here, you look at the overtime wage, I don't think I put the total in there.
I didn't see it, that's what I was looking
You're right,
for.
it's not in there, but, it does go across to their total wage per week.
It's part of the 496.
Right. But if you go, let's just take example of Becky. She has overtime pay of $252, and then you take the weekly pay, which includes the overtime pay, and then you multiply that by the weeks a year.
Okay, so the only thing I want to just make sure we have enough built into that because we're in over budget right now on.
Right, we are. Because I didn't schedule 20, I don't think I put 20,000 in last year. I think I put 40,000 in total, which was both unscheduled and scheduled, and it should have been more.
So Mike, every week then, they have 8 hours of overtime.
Correct.
And I remember how that sits on that 12, 12, 12
It's on
schedule.
24, 24.
Correct, 20, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything over 40 hours is overtime.
Yep,
You had 60,000 built in overtime, well, wages overtime.
Well, right now, if you take the number of 1340, which is the total of the weekly overtime, and you multiply that by 52 weeks, it comes out to roughly 70,000.
Right, that's why I'm saying there was 60 built in there last year,
Right.
or this current year,
Right.
and it's already over budget by 25,000, so just want to make sure there's going to be,
We had, but we were short some people.
right,
So
oh, I
we
understand all
certainly
that, but I
had a
just
lot
want to
of
make sure
extra.
it's in here accurately.
Right, so we've done, you as a board and I have done some things to help alleviate that shortage by doing it paramedic incentives, on call, and we've been pretty much staffed now for the last 3 months. So now I just, you never know tomorrow if we could lose a paramedic, and then you have to go back into the overtime tremendously. But right now, we're adequately staffed, but I have to project based on what we're fully staffed as. So we're good now. We just had some rough times last year, which none of us knew was going to happen. But we did some good things about paying the department too. We have a decent department now.
I just want to make sure that we have built in enough is
I
what,
think we shut down, 75 of the payroll and 60, that's pretty high.
Mhm.
We based the 5% overtime on 471, which is 20.
Well,
But you and I can talk about that.
your overtime, well, you've calculated your overtime two ways.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
so-
unscheduled and scheduled.
So
Correct,
you basically have $90,000 for overtime.
right. So we should be okay.
So I'm not sure, where you would, at least at this point, where you would be
I think
short.
we'll be okay, sure.
I mean, again, if we run short some paramedics and we're paying the extra to get people in here and stuff, that's gonna bump it as well. But,
Right.
unless the board wants to put a contingency in there of $20,000 or $25,000, that's fine with me.
we would have
I
to
would
just,
prefer not to, and then look at it later on down the road.
right, and that way, I mean, we're going to have to do budget amendments anyway, so
Let's say
it's
August,
same thing.
Al,
That's-
says 6 months down the road, we looked at it and we say, hey, we've had paramedics, we lost paramedics, we've been short 3 or 4 months, the overtime's gonna go to this month, then we can do a budget amendment.
Well, yeah, I said there's budget amendments, we have to do one anyway, coming up. I've got one ready to go pretty soon here.
Hey, Mike, turn your mic on, would you please? It's on the top there.
Does it work?
Yeah, we tested it. I think we just,
Pull it right next to you. I think you have to
yeah, if you
hold that
push
button
that
down.
button and hold it down, green light should come on. Yeah.
Put it right next to you.
Yeah, sorry
You have a
about
good, strong voice, but
Real
with
close.
YouTube, you know,
And
that. For the
Kathy,
make sure.
last 20 minutes didn't count, right?
All right, board, other questions as you go down our column that, of the
Are we,
review
are we
items?
comparable to the other services?
Yes, we have looked at that. The only service that is way above us, and I'm going to say way above us, is Kalkaska. They're paying their paramedics about $24 to $28 an hour. And we're currently with the 5% now, we're going to be at about $21 an hour, which is very comparable. But then Kalkaska is going to be going to 12-hour shifts here in the next probably 6 months is what I'm hearing. If they do that, then their wages are going to drop because they're not going to get that guaranteed overtime anymore
and they're,
because they're going to go to 12-hour shifts.
and they're
So gonna work
busy.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be disappointed. They're going to get 36 hours instead of 48. So I think it's a wash, to be honest with you. We don't have wages with East Jordan, Charlevoix. Well, I think we're better. By doing the 4% last year and the 5% this year, plus our paramedic incentive program, we're pretty damn good. We're really good.
I didn't follow it this year, but we've been relatively stable this year, employee-wise.
With what?
Employees that we've been
Now, we
relatively.
had some issues with paramedics. We had a paramedic that just decided to leave on 2 weeks' notice. And it's very difficult to get a replacement paramedic. And we're licensed as an advanced life support unit, so we have to have a paramedic on every day. So we had to pull some strings to get people to work. And so that costs money. That's overtime. I think we had one person that had almost 40 hours overtime, didn't we, Sharon?
Probably more than that,
Probably
60.
even more than that. So, yeah, we've had a couple of those situations. Right now, we're very stable. We even hired that new person, Andrew Lott, who will be picking up the 1 day a week that we're missing now, starting in February. That'll help us out tremendously. But you just don't know. But last year we did have, and we also had a problem with the EMTs too. We lost Jocelyn and we lost another EMT. You know, that kills you because when you have somebody pick it up, they have to pick it up overtime, period. Once you do your 2 shifts a week, the next shift you pick up is all overtime.
Yes, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. So the wages are, I think, very comparable for our area. The benefits are excellent. I think that we have one of the best benefits around. We have 2 EMTs that are improving themselves. Both Donovan Stone and Matthew Simodic will become advanced EMTs, the next level up. They'll be taking their national exams in the next 2 or 3 months. And I did put that in here in their salary for April. So we have that compensated. So that's kind of a feather in our cap. That's a very benefit to us. And we did get
But they can't run alone, though.
they can't what?
They can't run with
No,
just.
they can't run alone. Well, if you're an LSU, you have to have a paramedic.
Mhm.
But they can do other things. If worse comes to worse, and I did talk with our state representative, Tom, who does our ambulance inspections. We had an issue on Christmas Day where one of our persons got tied up in a snowstorm, couldn't make it, a paramedic, and one of the paramedics stayed. But if she would have gone home, we could have dropped down to BLS for a couple hours. I did let Tom know from the state. He goes, nobody lets us know. You're too honest. And I said, no, that's the way we do business there. And he said, look, we don't worry about those kind of things. What we worry about is the companies that decide to go BLS all the time. They can't do that. I go, okay, thank you, Tom. So Tom was really good. And he's the one who inspects our ambulances and looks at our charts and so on. So basically, currently, we have 3 paramedics full-time. We have one that's on call. That's going to be picking up time, Andrew. So our schedule is for 3.5 FTEs. So Andrew's kind of at 0.5, and he'll be picking up that day a week. So, or every other week, I think it's a day a week. So that'll help us out with the overtime. The EMTs are adequately staffed. We have one EMT that works every weekend, bless his heart. And he's Johnny on the spot, and he's great. No issues with him. His work is excellent. His personnel issues are excellent, so he's great. So we're fully staffed with EMTs. And then, of course, we still have a couple backups. We have Jenna that comes in once every other week, and then we have Al that comes in once every, and they're here like clockwork. Never have to worry about them. We still have Heather on the books. She does it every once in a while. She's going to be picking up, I think, next week when Donovan goes to train, his monthly training camp. He's in the Army, his National Guard duty. So we're very lucky to have that. So EMTs are doing very, very well.
Let me help you out for a second.
Yeah.
I've got a bad number board. If we go to page 4, under professional fees.
Page 4 of your document,
Yeah.
okay?
And if you look down to the 4th line, professional fee / TA, not sure where $46,000 comes from. We've spent 14.4. What are the professional fees versus contract services?
That's your BSNA program.
Well, what would we be including in professional fees? Because we got you, I think.
Isn't that Mike?
Well, then I'm trying to figure out contract services because,
Contract services is not Mike.
okay.
I don't believe, Kathy, right?
Well, I thought it was.
Well, I'm just,
Professional fees was the OTAA contract,
which contract?
the old one with TAA.
Oh,
And that was in last year's budget because that ended last year.
so anyway,
Then
Board,
you
I'm just
picked up
pointing it
then.
out that I've got to go back and look at that number because if we look over in the expense line, I've got 46,600 and that's got to come down. So Mike, that change is going to be a good positive for you.
You want me to go look real quick?
No, we'll do it offline. I mean, that, basically the review is, hey, do we have good numbers and are we comfortable with them? If we've got a blip, we'll go back and fix it. Because I think you and I talked, we did your fee, if I remember, 16 by 12. That's the 19.2. So contract services is you, so I'm not sure, because you've got Acumed somewhere else, right?
I had Acumen up on top in my report.
Right, Acumen is under contract services.
Well, then we
And
need,
Mike's is under professional fees, the 801,000. That's where Mike comes out of.
all right. So we'll put the 19.2 goes up to where the 46.6 is under our expense line. And then the 46.6 is, would that be, let's see, well, you've got Acumed as how much?
4,000.
4,000.
Well,
got-
Acumed is billed on percentage of our run fees. So you gotta look at our run fees, and
Right, but
calculate that out.
That dropped.
Right, but I said you need to just calculate
Right,
the
that's-
percentage
Well,
out.
that's what I did. I based it on what. we
Okay,
had.
okay, that's, okay.
But, yeah, I got 4,800 for Acumen. That's based on our new rate.
So
They lowered the rate for us.
So if I look at this thing, Board, the 46.6 should go to 19.2.
Yes.
And then the 19.2 would also be reflective of the professional fees. So we would have a savings If we look at
Well,
this.
you've got contract services, 19.2.
Yeah, and that's the Acumed. No, what is it? Acumed is 48. So the professional fees, do we have that double counted?
That's what
I'm wondering,
looks-
you
looks
know,
like
you
it.
have,
Yeah.
what I see is original budget contract services is,
Well, I'm trying to figure out for contract services, 10,810 is an actual expense.
Yes,
And
yes,
so.
it is an actual expense.
So it's different than Mike.
Yes.
So we need something in that line.
I don't know who that would be, Sharon.
Contract services is Acumed, all kinds of garbage pickup, all the things they share with everything else. Kathy can tell you all that goes in there.
Not without looking, Sharon.
That's fine. We just know we got to look at that, guys.
Right.
Let's not spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah,
So those are two items
but
that,
the 801 is listed under Mike, and we can,
that's fine. That's why we're going through it.
because he's our professional.
Well,
We don't want
is
to
that
call that road.
in name only or what?
Yes.
All right, insurance and bonds is the next big thing. Sharon, do we get billed monthly, quarterly on that thing?
We get billed almost at the end of the year, big bills, but we do get smaller ones in between. We just paid some great big ones here last month.
So our budget was 20,800 for ambulance.
And now we got a new ambulance, so I'm sure our fees, insurance liability will increase a little bit on that premium, but
So that's the insurance premium on the ambulance. And the bond is,
you're not talking about medical insurance.
No,
Okay.
it's the 651,910 account.
Next page. Yeah, that's insurance and bonds.
Yeah,
Now, we had budgeted 20,800.
right.
We've spent or used almost 15,300.
That's why.
There's
I was-
activity now, so those are our ambulance liabilities, our employees' liabilities.
Well,
Kathy, the
that's
other
okay, but
insurances.
we have 20,000. It would appear to me that we might be billed quarterly. And
The big ones come mostly at one time, and then there's other ones that are smaller that are in between.
They do a guesstimate first, and then they do an audit, and then they bill us
Well, that's-
for the difference.
The audit is for the
For which-
workman's comp. We can't,
right.
that's where the audit comes in. But the actual bills come out for the liability of our
Well, workers'
equipment and
comp-
everything.
workers' comp is in there? Because I don't see it
I don't know
as
if
a
you did one
separate
this year,
item.
Kathy, because you canceled it. You were sick.
Well, but we're still working on it. I've got to send it off to her, hopefully by the end of this week.
All right. So,
So this 20,000 is basically the ambulance bonding and liability? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
so unless I hear
That's the
anything,
liability against the employees, the
I understand,
equipment,
I understand.
everything.
No practice.
at this point, I'm not comfortable dropping it, so.
No,
I'd
what do you
leave
have
at
it now at
and see
20?
what happens.
Yeah, if anything, it would go up by, but 20 is fine. We'll leave it there. If it
Okay.
changes,
Repairs, the 7,500. That's for primarily our now second ambulance. I think that was on the second page.
Can I ask a question? What did we do with the third ambulance?
that went to the fire department.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. So you're using it for.
Well, not yet, but they
Yeah,
will be.
okay.
They're working on it. Remember, we were looking at buying
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
thing?
So that changed, okay, gotcha.
Our backup is in body shop right now.
It is, yes. I did, moving on down, I did reduce the capital expenditures from 10 to 5 in this year's budget. I could not foresee that we would really need anything that was, we've pretty much taken care of everything the past couple of years. The ambulance cots are all good, the batteries are all good, the life pack's good, the Lucas is good. So there should be no major capital equipment.
2 lift cots,
Huh?
2,
So they both work, the batteries are good. We bought mattresses for the employees, so we don't need anything in that regards. So I really couldn't think of anything major that would reason for me to put 10,000, so I've reduced it to 5.
How much,
and where is
how often
that?
do we use
Where's
that?
that? Yeah. I don't
That's,
see it.
that's in the capital outlay. So if you look at the millage for 131,000, I put that up in the capital expense because when you book that repayment to the general fund, I'm assuming you're going to book it against the capital outlay.
Mhm.
So the 131, which is the millage that we estimate to get in, plus his 5,000 gets you to the 136.
Okay.
Ellen,
The second ambulance, how often do we use it?
we rotate it, actually. We try
Oh,
to
you
rotate
are?
it, yes, because of the fact that we don't rotate it every 3 months. We'll rotate it, we'll use it for 1 month, use a new one for 4 months. But we rotate it so it gets used.
Sure.
We had talked 3 and 3, but after thinking that we don't get enough miles even on the new one, that we should probably, rotate it with 4 and 1, so.
The idea is we can't be without an ambulance. If one is in for repair, we've got to have an ambulance here.
Right, exactly.
But we have insurance to cover if we need a backup insurance.
We have insurance on both, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if one's out of repair, because that's what I asked the insurance company when we hit that deer. I said, can we get a backup ambulance? And they said, yes.
We can do that.
So where do you get it from?
Well, that would be up to you guys to figure out where to get it, but the insurance will pay for it.
Right, I think that if TA wanted to bring one of their ambulances out here for a week or two, we could reimburse them from the insurance reimbursement.
Right.
I have not done that. Like right now, we're using the third one right now. That's a backup, but we would do that now if we needed to.
We don't, what I'm getting,
But you're
what I
right, we
was
rotate
thinking.
it because they need to get used.
Okay, let's say we're out. We're on a run.
Okay.
And we have another run and no one else can answer it. We have to have a paramedic on this second ambulance as well?
Yes.
No, we don't.
On the second one?
So if we have
We're
someone,
licensed for one ALS unit, so anything after that can be ALS.
okay,
So we have our ALS unit in service live. We met the obligation by state law. So if we get another call, we can go BLS.
But you
okay,
have
if
to have
we
the people
nurse there.
here.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Yep,
That doesn't happen often because you need the staff. You don't have
No.
staff readily
I
I
available
understand.
compared to before when they lived down the street.
Right. We're doing a little bit more backup with TAA in Central Lake because they're running BLS of the paramedic shortage. Now, TAA can run with a BLS unit out of Bel Air or Mansalona because again, they're licensed for one ALS unit, even though they have 2 stations. So if they have the Mansalona ALS unit live and Bel Air's BLS, then we will intercept with Central Lake and provide ALS.
Okay,
And if we were down for any of those hours, that
Oh, they would come over here.
they would come over anyway,
Right,
yeah.
We have that mutual aid, so they come over here.
just another, again, odd question. Were we calm during the snowstorm as far as EMS goes, or were we busy?
No, we were actually normal.
Compared to what we had in October?
We were actually more busy in December than we were in October.
Okay, okay.
In your board packet that you get, I'll send to Bob tomorrow, you'll see the EMS report from Jeremy Ball from Central Dispatch for December. And I was surprised. We were up by about, I think, 7 more runs from last
Okay.
year.
All right.
All right, so the only other line item, folks, is down at the bottom. It's the interest that will the general fund. And that's based on 165,000 at 1.85%, which is the minimum that we can charge.
Is it under debt service? What's that at?
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, I see it there.
So unless there's other questions for Mike, I have two takeaways for me to figure three. I've got to figure out the professional fees and contract, and we need to look at the insurance and bonds. Any others that I have missed? If not, board.
No,
think-
so on the rest of the line items, we're gonna just plug in then?
Yeah, anything that is not, does not have review by it, and if you look at the rest of the stuff, the director is Ted's salary.
Mhm.
And part of the number up in reimbursements is the reimbursement that comes from the fire department for their share of Ted's time.
Mhm.
Then the rest, the paid time off, medical insurance, all those are just a factor of what our compensation is.
Mhm. So radios are good and repairs and all that sort of thing.
I don't see anything, the only thing that I might have, is our gas, and I've been kind of watching that, gas prices the way they are. And I think, we've been so far okay.
Yeah. What about any more classes for Ted? Does he have to go to any more?
He will be going to an EMT class in the fall. We need him to become an EMT, because what that will do for all of us is that will provide us the backup for a BLS rig if we, because with a second rig, which will happen probably 3 times in a year, but 4, is you can send the second rig out on a call, BLS, with an MFR and an EMT.
So is he
Oh,
agreeable
that's a
to that
legal-
then?
right, That's a legal group. And-
Yeah.
Okay.
They were- He's agreed to get his EMT after he was gonna do it last fall, but we got tied up and he's gonna do it this spring, but we've been kind of busy. So he's gonna do it in the fall. He did agree to that when we moved him into position.
Right.
So, but my question was, he went on the UP. Is he done with those classes up there?
No, I don't think we'll be going, he was in that leadership course, he graduated from that.
So
He's done with that.
there's no more recurring ones on that. Okay.
No,
I'm just looking
no.
at conference and education because,
No, I kept that about the same, because of the fact that we pay a little bit of money for ninth grade now, which is, I think it's in the and that has a lot of CEUs in it. We were talking today, I was talking with Shannon reviewing her budget, and ninth grade has a lot of classes in there. And also TA is now doing CEs on Saturdays for the month of January, February, March, so they're not going to charge us anything for that, so it'll be kind of a write-off to us.
so how are the EMTs and everybody getting their credits? Where are they going for all
They
those?
can go to ninth grade, they can go to image track, or they can go somewhere if they want it, but they have to pay for it. We just won't
We
cover that.
provide whatever
Right,
they
but if there's a
need.
special conference, like say, there's that UP, like you were talking about, not a leadership conference, but they have that UP management conference. And Lisa went this past year. So maybe next year somebody else will go. It's a time for networking up there, but there's money in here for that. That's compensated in here.
Okay. In the new one,
Yes.
which is,
If you look at my sheet,
Yes.
I have employee training 1,500, mileage, hotel, lodging. That's
so you
all.
have it for 2,100.
Yeah, well, actually, it comes up to 2,700, but
Yours comes up to 27?
well, 2,100, maybe it's 2,100 on your sheet.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to,
I had 2,000. 2,000 was the estimate, and I bumped it by 5%.
Okay, because it was 3,000 last year. We went over that budget there.
Well, we got
that's
it.
because Bob, or because I went that leadership.
Well, that's why I'm asking if there's more
Yeah, that
going
won't
on.
happen anymore.
It's just a simple question.
No, 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 yeah, I think that's a good question, but it should not happen
I'll-
anymore, because Ted did complete the he did graduate from that leadership course.
I'll bump that up 2,700.
Okay. I do want to say something while I'm here talking about the budget. I want to talk about Ted a little bit. I'm going to give my elevator speech,
You want to do, oh, okay, that one.
that one. In the corporate world, we do bonuses, but Ted, last year, when we moved him up into the position last October, a year ago, when everybody got the 4% raise, he didn't get it. We didn't give it to him because when he moved in his new position in December, we gave him a raise at that time. But I think that he needs to get that 4%. And I did put that in the budget. But Ted does a lot of things that we're not aware of. Ted is here every day, responds to any call from anybody, everybody here. Even now, when you call him, he'll respond to you. I'm just saying even now because you're not in the office every day.
No, he answers the phone.
He answers the call. Not only that, but when he's home, he comes in. He'll come in and help anybody out. He'll help Kevin out on any issues that needs to come up. He does all the minor repairs to the ambulances. We're paying somebody at TAA about $30,000 a year to do that alone. So, Ted has just been a valuable, valuable person to this organization. And he has slowly picked up the ropes in regards to EMS. He has a ways to go yet. His weakness has to do with discipline, but we're working on that. Being a cop, he's a good coach, he's a good counselor. Being a cop is the hardest part of his job. Nobody wants to be a cop, but he's tackled that very well. So I just want to say that he does payroll. We go through, he did the ambulance inspection with Tom. He did the new ambulance inspection with Tom. I watched, but basically he was on his own. I mean, I provided the guidance. We have a very valuable asset here, and I just want you to all know that.
You think I don't know that?
Huh?
You think I don't know that?
Well, he's a terrific asset to this organization, and I'm very serious when I say that he is very valuable to this organization. So that's why in the budget proposal, I proposed that he get his 4% plus the 5%. We can't give a bonus. We're in a corporate world. We can do that.
So he did not get the 4%
No, he
because
did
he
not.
had moved into the new position in which he had gotten a raise anyways.
He got a raise in December.
And then we did not add that 4%
No, we
at
did
that
not
time.
add to it in April.
Okay.
Well, again, the reason we didn't was it was only 3 months old.
Right. That's right.
So it's not like we left the guy
No, we
hanging
didn't
out
leave him
there.
hanging out. I want to be clear about that, but what I want to state is that if he would have been working for me in the corporate world, I would have given him a bonus of probably 10 to 20,000. I give my directors in EMS 30 to 50,000 a year bonuses because of what they do. But in the government world, you can't do that. So,
Well, I no question with regard to Ted's being valuable, but I don't want to, I don't want to set a precedent that becomes an expectation. So I'd like to couch it other than saying as a bonus. I like the idea of that we might have been remiss in our responsibilities of giving him that raise at 4% in the past and making up for it now as opposed to a bonus.
well, I agree with that.
So that's a great segue into going through your pay amounts.
That's where we're looking at the pay schedule.
Let's go back to the pay schedule and let's walk through, you don't have very many, but let's walk through what we're going from, what we're going to. Not to steal your thunder, I think you took basically the three items, basic, EMT, advanced, and paramedic, you took their rates up 5%.
Exactly. I did not put the old rates on here. I just did the new rates.
So board, when you look.
I've got the
at-
old rates, so if we get new rates, I can write it in here.
New rates are in here already.
If you go to,
I'm looking at the pay sheet schedule.
Yeah, correct.
if you look at the sheet that he gave us,
Well, I'm not sure
this
where
sheet
that's,
here, you'll see the new pay rates in the wage column, if I remember correctly. right,
That's
Michael?
correct, Bob.
Yeah.
so what but those are individual people.
Right, right.
So this is for the range scale from EMT basic through advanced and paramedic and so forth. So do we have those? I mean, these are individual people. We need it for our department, for our spreadsheet here.
So if we take a flat 15, so if we do EMT basic, that's 1470 to 1628. I would propose 1630, so we're not dealing in pennies. 1550, 1.05 is 1630. And the 17 times 105 is 1785. 1850 is 1945. It's actually 1943. I'm rounding it up 2 cents. And 20 will be 21. The EMS manager was 1350. It is now proposed at 14.142 on a 1420 on a round. That difference is 5%. So where are we getting the extra money for him? Are you wanting to take the 1350 times 1.04 and then times that by 5%? Because right now, if I
Times
take,
9% total,
huh?
times 9% total.
Well, if that's the case, 13.5 times 109 is 1472, not 1420. And that's fine. I mean,
I didn't bring my calculator.
that's all right. It's,
I have them at total for both 34.55.
yeah, but we got to look at them individually,
I know, but
Right.
okay?
But I do it for my total.
So the
budget.
cross-train, well, let's work on the station managers. So it's 14,
1470 from 1350 is the
Okay,
9%.
Okay.
And then if we take the 1820 times 5%, that gets you to 1910.
Yeah.
So that would be the rate for him. That's fine. That's what we ran with. We didn't run with 1470, so we will have a minor adjustment in the salaries. That'll go up a little bit.
Give me that total again.
Yeah.
His total. It comes out to 2150?
No,
No,
the 1910 and 1470.
Okay.
1910 is,
in 1470, you said 4070.
1470, I said, 1470.
Okay.
And 1910 is a cross base, and that's split between ambulance and fire. That's 60/40.
that's
Okay.
only 5%. That should be 9%
That's what I'm getting at.
right now. So 1920 or 1910 plus 4 more percent.
So 19 is not the right number?
So that would be 1985.
So if I'm on the same page, it's going from 1470 to 1985.
Correct.
And the reason is to catch up
Yeah.
for last year's lack of and to give him what everybody else is getting this year, correct?
No.
No.
Cross-training was 19. What was
Well, I'm looking at
cross-training?
manager. Aren't we on manager?
Well, the EMS manager is just one piece. And that's the
That's
1350.
the manager, station manager comes out of the ambulance department only. The cross-train comes out of a split cost to
I
40/60,
understand.
so.
So-
But I thought we were talking about manager amounts, which were 1350,
Going to 1470.
70,
Right, that's it,
period.
period. Then the other piece that he has was the $18.20. Oh, I don't want that. Where's the 1820 coming from? OT, that must be the hours you're thinking.
No, that's what you guys have split up on that. I don't have that on the.
18%, 20%.
It's what Sharon calls
60,
cross-training.
I thought 60/40, weren't we? 60/40? Was it
Well, the whole thing's
80/20?
been kind of confusing to me.
It's
but you have
60/40.
60/40 out of the 1820.
60% of that is fire department, because it was a cross-train, that was a job they started. 40% was ambulance backup.
Well, let's just stop for a second. Cross-training as of today is $19.10,
No, it's 1820.
1820?
1820.
See, the sheet we're looking at already has all the increases on it, right?
No, not all of them. Yeah, so the 1910, so the 1820 times 109 gets us to the 1985.
Right.
So the cross-training then will be 1985. And then that gets split 60/40 between the two.
Right. So that gives me more money.
Well, it just
Because
digs
that's
your,
how the position started, was the fire department.
Yeah, I know. But
And then the ambulance came in the split once they had their licensing to help with running on and a lift assist and all that stuff, so.
So let's answer Alan's question, which was a good question. Ted is very unique. So I would think, based on your question, and as I said, it's a good one, if Ted were to leave and we had to redo that position, I mean, you're going to have to meet the same qualifications to get that rate.
correct.
So are we boxing ourselves in?
Not at all.
You think we can do that?
Yes, because most directors, managers, whatever, have EMTs or RN or paramedic. So when he gets his EMT, we will be fine. John Deming, who is the director over at Gaylord, is a medical first responder. He's been there for 30 years. So no, we're not, we can create the hiring criteria for a position. So we're not boxing ourselves in.
And may I add to that?
Yeah.
There's two different pay schedules. So if we hired somebody else other than had to come in to replace Ted, they would be a cross-trained person. That's a 1985 salary right there. Then that person may not be an EMS director type of a scenario. So that person may not get that station manager position. That could be negotiated in some other way.
So L is cross-trained, right?
Yes.
So he wouldn't necessarily get the 1985.
No, he would get the
He
1910
he
He
get
would
the
get the
because he
1910,
got the 4% last year.
right? So that's,
What's 1910? Where's that coming from?
well, the 1910 is the number that's there.
You know what? Let me look at that because
Yeah, everybody got 4%
That's
last
19.
year.
that salary was for everybody. It was this station manager is the one that changed. That one got an increase. But I'll verify it with my paperwork here. If I can find anything in here. So in there's that one. In 21, cross-trained was 1750 and it went to the 1820, so it got the raise in there.
4% raise, yes.
Yes, it did.
All right, so if that's the case, then,
That got the raise. The raise didn't come through with his station manager type of scenario.
so we're back to 1910,
Yes.
not 1985.
Oh, you're saying that he got the
4% in the
4%
cross-train.
on his 1885 or 1820.
Yes, because it went from
It was a 4%.
1750 to
You
1820.
know, I don't know that. I didn't think he got that, so,
He did, though.
okay.
but it was
He
the,
got 4% of the 1820?
Yes.
Or
yes,
whatever, 17,
Right.
whatever it was.
right,
Yes.
No, that was as his cross-train though, correct?
yes. That was his cross-train portion of it. It was the station manager that didn't go up.
Okay.
But let me look at that again.
I'll have to look at it.
I've got it right here, Mike.
Wouldn't both cross-trained people get the
Station
same?
manager at that time was $5.15, and we put the extra work onto him. It went from $5.15 to $13.50. And that's where we got that extra in there.
That was before my time.
No, it was 21, at the end of 21. It was the end of 21 and 20, this position here. He wasn't doing it perhaps as much, but station manager as
Wait a
of
minute, is that the
4/1 of
raise we
20.
gave When he took the new position?
Huh?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that what you're saying, Sharon?
Yes,
Okay.
So I
But then
think,
on that 13, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So the 1820, which is what everybody's getting, or 1911, he would have already had the 4% of
Yes.
1820.
yes.
so now let's go back to 1350. Essentially, what we're saying is we went from 5.15 to 1350, which is 200% or something. And we did that because he was going to take on the additional responsibilities of payroll and stuff. I'm still comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Should we take the difference out of Mike?
So we're comfortable with the 1470 here, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I am too, but it's the other one is that it already had that 4%, so we're going 9% for every,
No,
so
no.
that's a,
No, we're backing it down to
that's what I'm
1910.
saying.
So you see, I was thinking, again, I was looking at total salary, total hourly wage. I didn't realize he got the 4% on the cross training.
He did.
I was aware that, I was under the information that he did not get 4% because we gave him a salary
The
increase.
salary increase was on the station manager
So
side of it.
I don't know that. I've not looked at his pay stubs to see what he gets per broken down.
That's why I brought
Well, that
that to
was-
show, so.
That was part of the discussion when we did in December. Well, I can go back and look at the presentation we did, but I think we laid out the incremental work that he was doing, and we determined that the appropriate rate was
Because
that.
everybody that is in that cross-train got the
Yeah.
raise and everybody got the
So
same pay.
We're all set with cross-train.
And so what was that amount, the new one then?
Well, the new one is 1820. I'm sorry, 1910.
Gotcha.
Now, you're comfortable, Alan? Just
Yep.
make sure there's a lot of numbers thrown
No, I
around.
understand. I see how you got mixed up, Mike, and I also think we probably are okay.
Was that?
I mean, we're probably okay.
Yeah,
And I do think,
I think my total came out to 34.55 per hour, and this is 33.80.
That's correct.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, that's fine. I think you're getting a hell of a deal
Right.
with that.
Yeah, that's what I calculated it out to be too, so. Cross-train, MFR, do we have anybody in that position?
Oh, we got some MFRs out there.
well, Alan.
Do they ever
Davidson-
work, though?
No.
Do we need this in here anymore?
Well, I would keep it in there because let's say, if we get in a situation where we might need them to do something, at least we got them in a spot where we can pay them.
Well, there would get fire department, that would come out of fire wages.
I don't know. Then, you pay for their license, don't you? Medical first responders?
Are they come up to date
You're paying
then?
for 'em. Huh?
Are they come up to date with them?
Yes. they have to be up to
CEUs?
date.
All right, so why do we have a rate? I didn't ask this question last year, but if we have a rate of 1475, is that incremental to their fire rate of 20? Or, yeah, the current 20? I mean, so if you sent him out, if you send firefighter 2 out on a medical call, is the 1475 the rate he gets for making that call, or is that incremental to the fire pay that he
Fire
would
pay.
normally get?
Fire pay,
Who are you talking about?
No, no,
Who
no,
are you talking about?
not a
That?
cross-trained.
no, no. I'm talking about the MFR position.
I don't, you got that sheet, Sharon. It tells you what number.
Yeah, it's at 1475.
Okay.
What I'm trying to figure out is when the person goes out and he's a firefighter too, and he's doing an MFR run, is he getting the 1475? Is he getting the firefighter 2 rate, or is he getting both rates?
He's getting the fire department rate.
So he gets
He
the 20.
signs in, he says, this is my hour here,
Alright.
and that's what he gets paid.
When that happens, that's paged out through 911 to the fire department, and that's.
So he goes as a
So
firefighter.
yes, and that goes in on that time sheet as a fire department call.
That's
So-
why I say, nobody ever uses, nobody in our system for 2-3 years have ever used that
So let's take
salary.
that, let's take that out.
Or
That's why I say,
or
take it
else
out.
Put the 20 up there too.
Nah,
What's that, Kathy?
now
Well,
there's no
fire-
reason to have it because
Okay.
all of a sudden you've got another pay rate. And it's the
Yeah,
same
we've
thing
never
as what
used
the
it.
fire-
I haven't used it in years.
All right, that's fine.
That's why I say, why do we
We're
even
there.
have it?
We're there. All right, for the fire, for the EMS, are we all set with rates?
Can, Are
Any
you-
open
I'm,
issues?
I'm all set, but will you
One thing I wanna
repeat
add on
them?
the rates, Bob,
What about the
is that
premium
the
pay?
Medicare came out with an 8.7% increase this year. We got notice from Medicare and Acumen that that's going to be effective January 1st of this year.
Ambulance runs, you mean?
Yes, ambulance costs, Medicare reimbursement rate will be 8.7% increase. And the miscellaneous items on the ink that we charge for will stay the same. So oxygen, mileage, those things will stay the same. But the Medicare reimbursement rate, which is about 60% of our calls,
Mhm.
will be an 8.7% increase.
But it was low to begin with, so
It's always
January
lower.
1st.
it's not very high to begin with, so,
Right.
No, but it's better than nothing.
yeah.
That's true.
But my
So-
take on that then is that's how you're going to get to an $80,000 run fee for
Currently,
next
we're
year.
at, I think as of today, we're at 73.
So
that's
what about this
great.
premium pay? It's $260 now.
Well, that goes,
That's the fire department.
No, that's not fire department. That's the
Oh, the
ambulance.
260, that was the,
we raised that
on-
from
was-
250 to 260 last year
They went from
Yeah.
250 to 260 is, what is
because
it?
it went with a 4%. And I think I have that in here. I
So
do for Jenna and Al.
it's that premium that they don't get insurance.
Right.
oh, okay.
So when they don't pick up and when they don't have full benefits, they come in, they're like part-time people that come in, they get this premium pay. That way they don't get benefits from us. They don't get health insurance and
Is
all that
that-
extra stuff.
Does that need to
So
be
I don't know
moved?
if that changed. That's the only thing I'm
Well, I
asking.
mean, you did put 4% on last year, but that.
Well, you kept it at 250. You thought it was 250
I thought it
still.
was 250, I didn't know.
And it was just, yeah, it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've never.
Guys,
You didn't want to raise it,
I'm not going to have further discussion for 10 cents.
So what do, I didn't write.
270.
Okay, I didn't
Yep.
hear that. That's what I was
All right.
asking.
So I had asked if you would quickly go through the new,
All right,
or I can,
read me what you have.
1470 to 1630 for basic,
That's what I've got.
advanced 1630 to 1785.
Yep,
Paras from 1945 to 21.
Yep.
The manager is going to be at 1470. The cross-trained position is 1910,
And premium pays 270.
and premium is $2.70.
So is
All right,
it still based on
Premium 270.
years of experience, that 15%, 15 cents? Okay, that didn't change. Thank you.
Whew.
okay. Any other questions on ambulance, or we can move to the fire? And thank you,
Look what you
board.
get to look forward to.
That's
Thank you,
very
Mike.
helpful. Thanks, Mike.
No, thank you. I appreciate all your support. Thank you for letting me give an elevator speech on that.
No, that's what we need to understand. I think Alan's point is a good one, and the two of you guys, you gotta be able to say, hey, between the two of us, we can replace Ted with another Ted with the incremental training that's necessary. But, you need to think of a backup plan before Ted decides to go somewhere else if he does. I mean, it only makes sense as managers that we think that through and figure out what kind of job description we're going to do and what are we going to look for. So I look to you guys to help us on that.
That won't be a problem.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
He gets his insurance and benefits too, so that's help. That's great for him too also.
Plus, he knows everything about the schools.
So do
And
I.
he keeps.
So do
I'm outta
I.
here. I'm gonna go,
That's-
I'm gonna
that's
take
fine.
the snow with me to Florida.
Okay, that's a promise.
I
That's on
really
tape.
hope,
That's
you
on
have
tape.
beautiful weather down there and that you never see the sunshine.
So we will look at some of these, tweak them if they need to be. We'll look at some of these questionable ones and we'll figure it out. Okay,
All right,
have a
board.
safe trip to Florida.
Next on our agenda is.
All right, let me reshuffle my papers here.
the
Go
Fire
ahead.
Department, which are pages 1 and 2. We don't really have any incremental pages to go with that.
Good.
And I will let my friend Kevin walk us through. Kevin and I have been through this a couple of times. Once again, the tax collection number of 328 is pre-delinquent taxes, so that will come down to 316. And then the 12,000 will be the estimated. And I have that in my proposed budget column, 316, the 12,000 interest earned. Based on the 0.4 mil rate, and I'm wrong there, it's 0.75. 0.75 mil rate for the fire will generate $246,211 for us. That will go towards the tanker, which is not here yet, of course. But if you'll go to page 2, the bottom right-hand corner, I laid out the same analysis for our tanker. Purchase price of $438,432. The ARPA money was $124,000. We transferred that into the fund. The millage will generate $246,210. So
Millage will create, what'd you say?
the millage will be
246,
246,210
For,
for payment towards the fire truck.
okay,
And so that will leave a general fund balance of 68,200, which will then be carried over for a period of time until the following year. It's not a lot of money in interest. But we're not, the timing associated with the delivery of that tanker is somewhat up in the air. Right now, my understanding was that the chassis was going to be, I think, delivered sometime at the end of 23. And we're going to have to pay roughly $125,000 at that time. And then it takes about 3 to 4 months to put the truck together. And that's when we'll owe the balance. They have not asked for any money from us. We've signed the contract. So at this point, we're not out any funds to
we're gonna have to use that
manufacturer.
ARPA money. How long? I don't know how
You
long that
said
truck.
You said
We
2
got
years?
this year, we're done and it's gotta be out by next year.
Sure. We have to pay 125,000. The ARPA money was less than 125, and we're going to pay it sometime in the third quarter of our
Of next
fiscal
year.
year of 23.
Okay.
23, we get the chassis.
So December of '23, we're gonna have a chassis only,
Right.
and we have to spend those funds before then?
No,
By then.
before, well, we got to do it in 24, I thought. So we got
By-
another year before we have
Okay,
to. So
we're
we're done easy
got
by a year.
April of 24 or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in that. But
Yeah.
we're going, I mean, if there's a delay, but I thought the understanding was if you've made the commitment. No? All right, well,
Now, let me ask
we'll
you,
push those guys.
we haven't paid anything. But in the end of, when the chassis comes in, we're gonna give them 124,000?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, 125.
okay, and then, do we have any, and the increase in the millage is gonna be our payback money, gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that we'll have a balance
understand.
owed, but it's 68 grand.
Yes, I understand, and they will have enough money to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I see it,
Yep.
okay.
Because quite honestly, as we said in the long-term plan, it takes so long to do this. In 24, we're basically going to be ordering the next tanker to get it in 26 or 27. And that tanker is estimated to cost about 550,000. We'll have 3 years of millage of at least 246, so we'll be able to pay cash for that. The whole idea behind that strategy was being able to pay cash for the vehicles we need when we need them and not have to worry about it.
And they're good for what, 20 years? Was it? Yeah, 20 years, yeah, okay.
And see, Alan, the good thing about that, and it, you know, for us, we're not going to be worried about it, but for the boards that come
Speak for
after us, for the boards that come after us, you know, they're going to be able to look at that 20-year time period and say, okay, what do we need to adjust the millage to get to a point where we'll have enough cash to pay?
Start saving on it, yeah.
But a tanker or a new pumper, we've got the other one that's coming due, I think in 32 is the pumper. So we got a tanker and a pumper coming up. That pumper is somewhere in the 800,000 range. In the new pumper that we have out there, when that has to be replaced in 42, it's about $1.6 million. So our 246,000 with whatever incremental comes with increased taxes is going to get us there without overburdening the township in case we're off in our estimate of inflation. At least we're going to be ahead of the game than where we are today. All right, so with that all being said, I'll let you walk through. The numbers are not very big. Again, anything in red with review are items. And I have put in the right-hand column when we get to the second page, what his estimate is versus our trying to take and prorate or estimate off of what we spent this year.
Can I ask one quick question before you get started?
Yeah.
What is that refunds rebates of $4,200?
Oh, no, we got $3,600. I don't know if it was booked, and I'm not sure if that's related to the, how much was the generator?
That was probably it.
Okay, because we were talking,
We don't get any rebates and anything refunds of that size. That's why.
well, we have that, and I think it's probably
It
the
is.
PAR money.
It is.
And then we
Grants.
got the other grant for 2,900.
How much was that rebate?
That grant?
I thought it was $5,000 for the generator.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that high. It's like 42. It's like that. It's like, I'm like,
That's fine,
So
but that's what that,
don't look for extra unless you're getting out more grants.
Yes.
I mean,
well, that, we put in their budget, I forgot to remind Michael, I'll do that. We put in the budget 15 grand for each of them to generate grants for us.
we did that last year too.
No, this was the first year we did it.
This
Oh,
year.
yeah, this year, 22, 23. Yep. So his 15,000, he got something for the power lights that we just recently did in the generator. I
The
thought
power
he was in the 5,000 neighborhood for the generator. But if it's less than that, that's fine, but he's got 3 months to come up with another $10,000.
Well, power plant was for fire department. What was
That's-
their goal?
Fire department was 15.
Oh, 15.
Yeah, both Mike and Kevin had $15,000 targets. And I don't think Mike has come up with anything yet.
No.
So I will send him a reminder email
Okay,
and tell him he got off light.
gotcha.
Um,
My mind's going, I'm thinking, okay.
Well, you know me, I'm throwing numbers, all kinds of numbers
And
around.
I'm looking at them thinking, where did that come from?
Yeah.
That's a grant thing. It's not
So
a,
is that what we're saying the donations line
Yeah.
is grants?
Yeah. I mean, we can go through and start
no, not the
changing names
donations.
and putting other
What's
amounts
the
in there, but
15,000 that's for donations?
yeah, grants.
It's grants. And then the reimbursements and refunds are also grants?
Well, it's just where things got booked.
Okay.
I mean, that was a PAR grant for the generator. And it was a PAR grant for the,
I'm going to make a
the
note
light.
to myself to make sure that's exactly our plan.
For a generator that's at the south station?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It took us a long time to get that generator. And with the 2 extensions on the power plant grant, I made some
Thanks to your
serious phone
connections, yeah.
calls and made tons of phone calls.
All right, so
So I haven't heard Kevin yet.
go ahead, Kevin. You got the expenses.
Okay, so you want to start
Ooh.
with the wages?
Yep.
But you got to talk into that mic, please.
All right,
Put it way
try
close
to
to
get
you.
this closer. How's
No,
that?
close, close.
So we started, as you can see, the original budget, from what we had from this fiscal year, we've been under, okay? I think that was partly because being on scene, I was able to counsel additional personnel, which helped resolve the issue that we were having previously of too many people showing up for a minor thing.
And then we found that double booking in payroll too.
Yes, and that double payroll issue that we had, that helped drop it substantially on that. The thing that I discussed with Bob on this, that we had that first hour run premium was, I think, $23.50. It's on that sheet. And we discussed doing away with that and just adding that to the hourly thing for the firefighter. And then that would eliminate that first hour premium. And that would be an incentive for people to hopefully respond to our calls during the daytime and stuff, you know. So
Better for
and-
bookkeeping.
Yeah, and then with our nighttime premium, I just wanted to leave that alone. The only thing that I'm going to work on that, because we do not have anything in the SOPs, I want that, basically, I want that more defined if you're on scene. Because if a person's on scene, I think that's probably the $40 is appropriate, but what I'm trying not to get at is people showing up, walking in the door, signing a sheet, and then getting paid that $40 and they was not on scene. You know, we haven't had that issue yet, but I'm not saying that could be a problem in the future. And I don't want that, so I think that,
later on, we might be able to discuss this a little bit more in depth. But so far, like I said, it's not been an issue. But I'd rather see that, they've not, like I said, they're not actually putting in, because I've seen this where I've worked before on the fire department. And that's why sometimes it worries me, because people would be out on the scene for 3 hours and somebody would show up at the station when everybody's getting ready to leave, sign that roster, and then walk out. And he's getting that pay. And like I said, that hasn't happened here, and it won't happen here, because I will stop that. But I just want that to make sure that, we're working within our limits of that, what we're getting paid. And if they're on scene, I think that's appropriate.
All right.
So what you're doing is crossing off that run premium.
Yes. At $23.50, and just
Okay.
adding that to the run time.
The firefighters.
Yes.
Okay,
So
what is
what do
that
you-
going to be then?
Wait.
Correct.
So what's the rate that you want to pay the firefighters?
So that would go from, I think, was that $20 to $23.50.
Okay, why am I not seeing this?
So that's
in
the FF2, right?
Yes. that would be a
$23.50.
firefighter too. There again, that would have to be redefined for us, because to me, if you're not a certified firefighter, you're probationary, you should be getting that full amount until you pass firefighter 1 and 2.
All right, so the
What would they get, Kevin, if they had not, but they're working on it?
If they're working on it, I thought we was, before we talked about 17 something, 50, I can't remember.
Fire probationary currently is fire probationary currently is $15 with no certification.
Yes.
And a firefighter 1 is $250 on top of that.
Yeah,
For
I don't think
$17.50.
we have any fire one.
No, we do not. And the state was trying to eliminate that separation of classes. Now they want it combined.
So I always said, why do we have that firefighter one in there?
Well, that could be also eliminated,
I think so.
All right, so we're going to take out firefighter 1. Now, we have a line up here called firefighters. That's $23.50.
Yes,
Then FF2 is $23.50.
yeah, your certified firefighters
Yes.
would be a firefighter
Yeah,
1 and 2.
We're
That's how
paying
we-
them the same, so
yeah,
why
that's
would we have,
$23.50, yeah.
so why would we have 2 lines? Just take out the personnel or the firefighters, right? Or I think we take out that first line of firefighters.
No,
Why? Because I've got a line down here called personnel, which is FF2. That line should be firefighters FF2. Because you're taking out the FF1s.
are you looking at this sheet here?
Yeah.
Which,
Okay,
You take out
Um,
firefighter 1, Sharon, you don't have to deal with it. You're just dealing, all of them are firefighter 2. So you only need.
they're all
one line for that.
firefighters.
Oh, we can take that. Well, you might, you got to combine them somewhere.
Yeah.
So combining, what are you doing
Well,
here?
there's a personnel line.
I don't see that personnel line on mine.
right, below
Under probationary, it says
Probationary.
personnel.
personnel is right below probationary, which is right below the disgust.
No. What are you guys looking at?
Well, I'm looking at this. Am I looking
got
at the
the same
right
thing.
one?
I didn't bring that one. You
That's the one
must
you
have
made.
deleted something then.
No, this is pulled right off of what we've been working off of all along.
is what came off of our last file,
Is this.
personnel. So
I
don't know.
never knew there was never personnel in that we had to have.
So, okay, so we'll do just,
No,
Sharon, it's easy. We don't have to
personnel's not
do-
even in our our payroll.
Sharon,
I know.
not a big deal now. We have one line for
That's what I'm saying. I
firefighters.
couldn't follow you, what you're talking
And it-
about.
It's 2350?
2350, so we're all set.
And so
line.
everybody's a firefighter?
Everybody's a firefighter 2.
Everybody's a firefighter too.
And the probationary, and if it's a firefighter 1, is going to be at $15. No difference.
Firefighter 1
And
or
probate.
probationary is at 21,
15,
15?
yes.
Sorry.
So firefighter 1, we're crossing off of here. We don't
Yes.
have any,
Right.
so we're going to take that right out.
Well, if we, if we take it out, that's fine, but if we had somebody apply here to get on the fire department, and he's currently still just certified as a firefighter 1, we might want to keep that, I guess, in there just in case until he went to 2.
Well, what I would,
But like I said, as far as I know with the state and the testing that we have to do, they're.
It's
all
1 and
class
2.
now. It's
Right.
1 and 2. So combined. So when you get out of there, you're a firefighter 2. If
Right.
you pass the state test.
all right, so we just had Mr. Graves recently joined
Yes,
us.
he's probationary.
He's pro-
probationary.
Yes.
So
At $15.
whenever he takes his next test,
Mhm.
he will become a firefighter 2.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, fine.
Is that so? No more level 1?
No,
No,
They
just
haven't been
did
for
it
years.
For convenience, because some people didn't, I think, didn't have the time to do the whole thing, because it's a very lengthy, like 6-month ordeal, So they were doing it, Elk Rapids was having firefighter 1, that's where Casey Morris went. And then he was able to go back the following year and do firefighter 2, and it worked for him, the schedule, but the state's been moving things around, and I was under the impression that, yes, it's going to be 1 class, and we do have.
and it's been for a couple of years,
Yes.
several years.
And Donovan's going to be heading up to Petoskey at the college here starting next week, and it's 1 and 2 combined.
Do we give them a length of time to get that done?
Normally, it's,
We should.
probably you'd say a 24-month period, because when you're on a probationary, you can evaluate the employee and his job performance during that probationary time. And then that also gives that individual time to reflect and say, is this exactly the career path I want to choose? So that kind of works out. And then after your evaluation and the officer's evaluation of his performance on the job and situations, then you have that talk with them
Well,
and ask them would you like to consider?
if I hear you correctly, though, if Mr. Graves goes and passes his class in 6 months or 1 year,
Mhm.
we have to respect that. So we're going to have to pay him at a firefighter 2,
Yes,
no longer a probation.
yes.
So,
No, we never have in the past.
well, but that's why I'm asking
Even when they're
the
going in
fire
class,
chief.
when they're going in class, they haven't got that licensure yet.
I understand, but I said when you graduate.
Oh, graduates,
I
correct.
said when he completes that course, he becomes a firefighter 2. We will pay him that regardless of how long he's been probationary.
Yes.
Correct.
So that was Alan's question.
Yeah.
Is there a specified period of time, right? And I think it is, if the guy doesn't go for his firefighter 2, you're going to evaluate whether or not he really wants to be a firefighter.
Correct.
Right.
Or if the situation arises, we can always use the support staff, probationary type deal. I mean, that's how a lot of departments are doing that with individuals. You'll see on their helmet crest now, support staff.
Okay, yeah, we had one person like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they want to go, say they get firefighter 2, and why would they go up? And what's the next one, captain?
No,
What's the next
that's
one?
it.
Firefighter 2.
Where they have it now, you get fire 1 and 2, and then you move up to officer 1 if you take that class in officer 2, officer 3, and then so on, up there.
2 is the highest you go, Alan.
But they don't have to go to officer 1 to stay with us?
No, they do not have to take
No.
officer 1.
No, but if they did on their own, we would pay them if they got it?
Officer 1 is basically what you want your personnel, if he plans on moving up the chain of command, that's why you evaluate your employees and you can see if this individual is an asset to the fire department, then you work with them. And then if there's a lieutenant opening, you pull them in again, you have a conversation, would you like to challenge the officer one course? And if they say yes, then you would put them into that. And if they pass the test, then they would become like a lieutenant on the fire department and fill that empty spot.
Is that still like a two-year process of school?
On Officer One,
Going to Officer One?
Officer One is about 4 months.
Oh, all right,
You know,
all right,
it's not that long of a course.
okay. While I got your attention, the question I have is with regard to that evening, that $40 if you make it on an evening run. And you said if they get on scene, now if we show up on scene and you have a number of them, you don't need them, you have more than you need and you send them off, they're paid for that hour?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so on scene at minimum get an hour while they're there. If they need them, they're gonna be there longer. But they just can't come into this, they have to go to the place, they have to go to the call.
yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I probably answer close to 97% of our calls. So when I am there, I have to evaluate really quickly, and that's why I call central dispatch on my radio, and I cancel any additional. And then they turn around and go back home. There's no payout on that. You know, my only thing is, like, if they're on scene and I do an evaluation, I don't need this amount of personnel. I'll tell engine 2, you can clear the scene. In a tanker 2, you can also clear the scene, which reduces the amount of personnel. So they may go back and get 1 hour at a time, where the other crews on scene might get 2 hours at a time.
Ken, what level do you have to be to take incident command?
Incident command actually could be taken over by anybody first on scene.
Okay.
Yes, they come up with IC, they can establish if there's no officers present, responding unit, it's structure fire, you will tell them they're on scene, establishing command. What happens there as more personnel arrive, say a lieutenant like Greg Summers or
You transfer.
Ron, then he notifies central dispatch that command is being transferred to Lieutenant 88.
Okay,
So that's how it goes. And then if Al Davison shows up, the lieutenant would say, okay, I'm transferring that command to the captain. And that's how it goes.
okay, I mean, that's pretty important. When you get firefighter 2 and you know that you might, in an odd situation, have to make the decisions, that's sobering in
Yes.
terms of your responsibility.
All right,
Okay.
let's move on to the,
Okay.
All right, board. So at this point, I think we've got all of that straightened out, and the question now becomes, we address the chief, assistant chief, captain, lieutenants, and secretary.
okay, so I would like to say something about support staff. It's at 12. I'd like to increase that. We have only one person on there as support staff, but that person does a lot of extra work.
Where are you seeing support staff?
Support staff, fire.
Was that what we're classifying as probationary?
No, not probationary.
I don't see
This
it.
is a
I
Lenny.
don't see it, Sharon. Where are you reading that?
What are you reading?
It's been on the sheet forever.
Well,
But
maybe,
it's not on this sheet.
Well,
maybe that's what we had for, so support staff, what do you want?
It's $12. Currently, I like to raise that to 14.
That's fine. I think I know who you're referencing. I'm fine with that. All right. So then, secretary, are you required in your meetings then for somebody to take the minutes?
We never have.
No,
done
So
that.
what's the secretary role?
He does the payroll.
The secretary, Al, when he's on duty Fridays, he will enter, he wants stuff to do, so that's why he does it.
So he does the payroll.
Yeah,
That saves you from doing it.
and then he turns it in to me. to
That's
review.
fine.
so.
But he did the reports on the runs as well?
Yes, he does that also. The reports have to be filed within the state.
Yep.
And he does that too as they come in. We have to, he collects everything. He takes it down to Station 2 and then all that is filed in with the state on our runs.
And he does the payroll. He
Yeah.
takes those monthly sheets and itemizes it.
Yes.
Well,
That's when he's not fixing things also.
yeah, that's right. He's working one day, that's a week.
Yeah, Fridays.
In this capacity.
Mhm.
So it's at 9.25 right now. 5%
It's at
gets, him-
970.
well, that's a 5% increase.
That's your projected.
Yeah,
number.
so I would suggest we make it an even 1,000. Is there any objection to that?
No.
He's a hard worker and he does an awful lot of stuff for us, so,
Once I got the payroll all organized,
yeah.
he's good at it now.
Lieutenants, we're 1210, 5% gets them to 1270. Any issue with making that 1,300? It's a little more than 5%, but
I don't have any
Nice.
problem.
Even number.
any objections?
No.
Nope.
Captains are currently 1825, 5% gets them to 1920. I'm talking $80. Captain's got a lot of responsibility. I have no problem taking that to an even 2,000.
Done.
The assistant chief is currently at 2425. That comes out to 2550. My thought was 2600. And chief is at 16,550. That brings it out to 17,400. As far as I'm concerned, Kevin has done a great job. He's done a good job on managing the finances of that department and getting a lot of equipment that was needed.
Mhm.
And so I would suggest we bring that up to 18. Any objection, board?
Nope.
All right. That takes care of the fire department.
So let me just,
Yeah, we got to recap that. Not those.
so we're taking out the firefighter 1.
Yep.
We left the cross-train that, we know that's 1910, that's a percentage of there. Chief 18, assistants at 26, captain at 2,000, lieutenants at 1,300, secretary is 1,000. Firefighters are 2,350, and that's any time that they go out other than the nighttime premium, which is, still remains at 40. Probationary is at 15.
Yep.
And support staff is 14.
Yep.
So we got rid of the premium, right?
Yeah, the run premium is done.
That was always confusing anyway.
To have
It
three
never
different
made any
ones.
sense.
Needed updated.
Yeah.
All right, the last two items are elections. And I gave those 5% increases, so I think 21, what was that? Currently 20,
So I think in my payroll, I'm gonna have to establish new names. So it doesn't, yeah.
now, that would take the chairperson from $20 to $21. I actually bumped it to $22.50 because they do an awful lot of work.
He certainly does.
And for the inspectors, they're currently at 15. I took
mhm.
them to 17.50.
Okay.
I'm not 5%. I mean, we're not talking about big dollars. And these people are dedicated workers and they're great at their job. You've had no problems, and I think rounding them up a little bit is not going to break any bank. Any objection to those? Okay. I think that's it, unless there's something else. All right, so that takes care of the salary number. Now we can start looking at some of the other line items. I think the items that are outside of payroll, we start with uniforms. Original budget was 8320, we're at 4834. Kevin thinks 5,000 is a good enough number for that. I have no problem with that.
Where are you at? I'm sorry.
Uniforms, the first number on the bottom right-hand side where it says 5,000 requested. Page 1.
Kevin, you and I talked about wanting perhaps a line that was turnout gear versus uniforms. Are we going to continue to just keep turnout gear as part of the uniform line item?
Either that or we could put uniforms / turnout gear.
Okay,
And
so,
one line, would that be-
and what is
We don't
one
need to create
full,
another line.
Okay.
and what's one full set of turnout gear cost?
Well, we're talking at least, probably it's around, I think, $1,300 for the bottom and then around $700 to $800 for the jacket.
So $2,000?
Yeah. That's why.
So we've already got,
That's a
does
uniform.
Gavin have turnout gear?
Yes.
He
Right now-
does?
Yes, right now, he's got some of the other stuff that is still, is going out this
Okay.
year, probably by the end of the year. But that's how they've always done that. before.
Recycled stuff.
Okay,
Isn't anything
And
new
then,
because
like I said, later on, if he decides to stay and he does get the firefighter too,
then
then
we,
you have the ability to enter a burning structure, he has to have the appropriate
right,
gear. Right now, he can't run into a burning building.
right, you can't do any of that.
He just won't
He can't
have-
drive either.
So that's why it's
Okay.
there. And then you never know if something's gonna get damaged and it has to be replaced, but.
so if we
normally that-
hired 3 more firefighters without ordering any uniforms, do we have turnout gear for 3
Yes.
more people?
Yes.
How many more people can you clothe?
We don't need that question here.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Knowing that a turnout gear costs $2,000 each,
Yes.
I'm wondering if his $5,000 is enough. But if you've got backup things,
We do have some
and I didn't
backup.
realize that, that's why I'm
My
asking.
old gear expires next year. So worst case scenario, I use that right now as a backup in case I have to put my new stuff in the laundry. It takes like 24 hours for that stuff to dry. So I've got my old gear for backup gear, but if I have to, I can give that to somebody coming in.
It's like the
also.
ambulances.
Okay,
have a
so,
lot of extra
so what would you
gear.
guess? You have backup for how many?
Probably 5.
Okay. Chances of us hiring 5 more firefighters soon? Do you want to?
That would be great, especially if they're all like Donovan.
Yeah, this is true.
So,
Well, I noticed we're down to 1 page of payroll sheet,
yeah,
and we used to be 2 pages, so we've lost some, I know, and,
yeah.
anyway, okay.
There again, that's pretty much what I had in Elk Rapids, Milton, Central Lake, is that everybody's having a staffing shortage to some degree.
Okay, I just
Well, that-
wanted to make sure
We
there was
really haven't
enough.
lost anybody. The people that were on there weren't responding. They're just taking off.
So the question, that's a long-term question, is at what level do we start to get concerned as far as staffing goes?
If I start having multiple calls and we have no response from anybody, that would become an issue. In a situation like that, I look at the dividing line, where this issue is, because then I call Milton, I call Elk Rapids, I can call South Torch Lake, the nearest departments up this way close. I have called Central Lake a couple of times.
Thanks, Township.
For mutual aid. One time was during a medical event. I had to do that because our unit was responding to an injury, and we had a heart attack call coming in. And so for a time, I went to that scene. I called Central Lake since they had, the basic, and they responded to the heart attack thing till we had a full paramedic unit arrive on the scene. So it's whoever's, and it goes back to what Al was talking about there. It's like you have to be able to judge and make those real quick snap decisions. But at no time, our township will ever be without fire protection, just as much as Milton, because if they only have 2 people show up, I was behind a rollover 4 weeks ago on US 31. I had to call that in. And Jeremy said, I only got 2 guys responding. I said, okay, now we're going to call 8800. We're dispatching out Torch Lake because we were the closest unit to do that. So it's just a group effort among all the fire departments in the
Okay.
area to make sure we're all covered.
Is that what you meant though, Bob?
Well, it'll be a separate conversation. We'll
Okay.
have when we have our staff meeting.
Okay.
That was my concern when we were signing that agreement. And Kevin cleared it up for me that that agreement will go statewide kind of thing. What happens locally? Well, Kevin can decide that. He said, no, we can maybe let something go, but we can't let everything go
Yes.
from here. And that's his decision. And that's important.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the good things about that, because there again, you assess what's going on, okay? And then just call that. So multiple departments would respond. So kind of getting off track there, so.
No, that's all right.
Yes, Alan, yeah, so we're always protected, 24/7.
As a board, we've got to ask those questions because again, if there's something we need to do in a budget that
Yes,
can attract people or set up some kind of support for training to try to entice people to join the force and see if there's an interest, we should put some money in the budget to try to figure that out.
and a lot of that too is dependent on your geographical area, Elk Rapids might have more personnel, but then they have more younger families living within that area.
Yeah.
Where like Milton and us, we kind of suffer that because people work outside the area during the day.
The retirees.
And then Central Lake has people there during the day, so that's a nice buffer to know that we need help.
That's
They can
exactly
respond.
right. Exactly right.
So,
We have the best staff we've had in many a good year.
Okay.
We're not suffering right
All
now
right.
at all.
yeah.
So let's hit the last couple items. We've got the insurance and bond, same question, if we're okay at about 20,000, 21,000.
Yeah. Because currently it's 20, our budget was 20,800. So
You didn't raise that.
he did. But we haven't spent it all either.
Well, that's why I was asking the question if, we're at 18,000, if we're going to get another bill, then we're at
Right.
20, but if we're all done, then we've got the cushion.
I don't know. That would be
Fuel is,
clerk's office to look at those insurances or anything. So
okay.
Kathy needs to research that one.
The electric bill is that for this station?
Yes.
All right, so
And it's prorated
it's a prorated piece, all right, so
between ambulance, fire, and general fund.
he's thinking we're going to be around 7,500, so that's what he's asked for. The next line is repairs and maintenance for 25,000. walk them through the tire situation and where you're coming up with the 25.
On repair and maintenance?
Yeah.
Yes, the first thing, like when the new ambulance for our new fire rescue, whatever we want to term it as, I told them we need new tires on that. And also I'm gonna like to purchase snow tires for the winter months for that vehicle. Also, according to our NFP guidelines, our tires on our vehicles have to be replaced every 7 years. So engine one this year is due for new tires. Our tanker on tanker one that's here at the station, when the last time the guy was in doing the tire inspection, he said that they're starting to show signs of age, and they basically they sit and they dry rot. And so I'd like to replace those because that's, there again, you're using this piece of equipment that's got 2,000 gallons of water on it. So those tires would have to be replaced also. We did before replace the tires on tanker two down at the station two. So them are good. And I think there's a possibility that we may have to replace also the tires on the engine two.
Does the heat in this building help that?
It helps a lot. But it's just the fact that you have pieces of equipment sitting there static and they're not being used, and plus the age. And it used to be, there was a debate in, was it 2018? I can't remember the year. They were debating whether to raise it from 7 to 10. They went back and forth on this, and the NFPA decided after all their checking into the situation, they kept it at 7 years on our vehicles. So that's where we're at now. So there again, if something was to blow out, going to a scene and somebody come in and start checking and they find out that those tires are older than 7 years, I'm going to be held responsible for that. And
No, that's fine.
me. So.
But that's why we've got 25
Yes,
in there.
Yes, that's why I wanted to boost that up. And the other thing, it kind of, last year, that seal pump on engine two, which developed that oil leak. And then we were out our engine for like 15 weeks because they couldn't find parts for this thing. And I think that bill came in just for replacing the seals and everything, it was around 17,000, I thought.
Yeah.
It
So
was expensive. So there again, some of the equipment has age on it, and I would rather just have a little buffer zone in the repair and maintenance just in case of small issues. I don't expect anything because we do truck maintenance every month. We go through everything monthly. We run those pieces of equipment, we check them out. They're checked underneath, the brakes are checked out. So that's why that's always included in there. And if I find a discrepancy in any type of equipment, then I have to, notify Bob immediately, especially if I have to take that piece of equipment out of service, because then I have to contact another fire department to make sure, that they will come if we get paged out for something.
Where do you get tires at?
What's that?
Where do you get the tires at?
Well, the guy that was taking care of them, that was doing our stuff here for the tires is no longer in the area, so Ted was going to check into that. He said,
Curiosity.
and started giving me a price. I know that Grand Traverse Tire takes care of Elk Rapids, so I can always get an estimate and have them.
I'm just curious.
Because I want to know how much before I spend the money that these things are going to cost, because everything's went up, So what could have cost us $500 to $600 a tire might be closer to $800, this time around. Because of
but
inflation.
we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
I mean, the bottom
I did-
line is you
Yeah.
get the best price you can.
I'm shooting at $25,000 now. I don't think that.
I was just curious if you had to do it local, could do it locally, or you had to go down somewhere far away.
Yeah,
It was
we
just a simple
We
question.
have a place up here that we got the tires for Rush One, with the old Boston Porch Lake Cafe. So I might inquire up there and ask them to come down, take a look at them, and also kind of keep it locally in here, give them a chance to maybe bid on it or, get us the tires. So,
Okay,
that's
I was just
what- but
curious.
That's why that was increased,
But we'll make a budget amendment on it for the current budget now on this one.
Yep. Well, the the issue there was that pumper. So
Yeah.
25 is reasonable, and if you blow through it, you blow through it. It
If I
is
have
what
to
it
come
is.
back before the board for something, that's just the process
Yeah.
that we'll have to take. So hopefully that will not occur.
Your
The,
hoses are all up to date and all of that, so.
Yes, yes.
So you got
All right.
45,000 in the equipment side.
Correct.
And I said, originally we started at 85.
Yes, and I was fine with that because honestly, before we had our meeting yesterday, I had often thought that I wanted to drastically reduce that equipment to halfway balance out that repair and maintenance part. To me, I thought, well, it would work better that way, and replacing, like Sharon said, we had done all our fire hose, we got new turnout gear, our air packs. There are some things that possibly that Ted and myself are not, contemplating that we may have to give, but when we get that new rescue rig in operation for the township, there's probably things that we're going to have to purchase. But all the stuff that we may have to purchase will be small items. There's not going to be no major purchase like the hoses and the turnout gear.
So we don't need any more equipment, like the special suits that you guys have to have, or the gas stuff for, what we bought this year, the life support. Do you have enough of that stuff?
Yeah, we have enough.
Right.
The only major expense that might possibly occur is when we were doing truck inspections up here last week, I noticed that we still have some old cylinders on engine one. There's 4 of them, I believe. And they're non-compatible with our new air packs. So I might have to purchase 4,
You might want to do that quickly.
that way it's there. So that was an oversight on my part because I'm not around engine one, but normally I walk around with, like when I'm here on the weekends, walk around opening bay doors, looking at stuff, making stuff, charge. And then I saw, it's one of those things I missed,
But that would be this year. We would buy them this
Yeah,
year.
this year if we get,
That's
the
fine.
order in to West Shore where we want
Well,
them.
get them
So
going.
we're going to need a budget amendment on here. So you're going to order it before a budget amendment then?
Yeah. Let's worry about this line item. Let's do it in March when we do the
But
big,
45,000 is doable for our department,
for next year.
I don't see, I don't see an issue with that.
All right.
Are you covered also for, you've got other things to do on that ambulance? Any refitting or in terms of what you want to, how you're going to use it? You don't need
The rescue?
It's not an
Yeah.
ambulance.
is that done?
It's not an ambulance.
It was.
No.
It was,
But
that's
I'm
what it
asking,
was.
you're
he was asking.
retrofitting it somehow, are you not?
Yes, it will have like, I wanted to leave the oxygen tank on there for rehab in case our alpha unit, GMS responds to the calls. If somebody needs to get some air, I'd like to be able to go in there and we could discharge oxygen to them in there. We're going to put more room flares for accident scenes, different things like that. Maybe some area that we can keep cold bottled water for people that are overheated on the fire scene, different things like that. And we're going to use it too in case we do have an incident. It can be used as a mobile command center, and it can be used as a rehab center, like I said when I talked about earlier this year about purchasing something like that. A lot of times we have accidents and people, it's cold or it's raining, and they're standing out there. We have to put them in engine 2 to keep them warm. So having something like that, we can actually put them in there until family members arrive to assist them to go home, or we can actually bring them here to the station for a while until their family picks them up.
What I mean, do you have like the seating and the
there's seating-
cabinetry and
there's
all that in
seating
there?
There's adequate seating.
What about painting? Are you going to repaint them?
Yeah, they're gonna be paying. We're
Just the-
trying to get
just
the
the
guy
name.
from Elk Rapids, and he promised he'd be out, and he didn't respond. And as I told Bob,
You're not
I'm only gonna
repaint-
give him about 3 chances, and I'm moving on down.
You're not repainting the whole thing. You're just
But is there what I'm
Number.
asking though, is that enough capital money? for what he needs to do.
Well, it's going to be done. The 45 is next year. The work that he's got to do on the new,
Tires now,
Yeah, he's
well, the
got,
tires
that's next
you
year.
got to have tires now for the
We have to
rescue
have
unit.
tires on engine one
Right.
by the end of this next year, or this year, excuse me.
So
there's a lot of equipment they have for that app you can use
it's
already.
105,000
The
is,
O2 tank is still in there, isn't it?
On that?
Is the O2 tank still in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
they
I looked
spent
at.
about 100,000
I looked
You,
at
now.
it.
you don't
Let's
need
not
to
take
buy
that
all
out.
new.
Before that,
Well,
So a lot of those things you were
For
talking about,
everything,
it sounded
so
like you were
far.
buying new. Well, it's not.
Yeah,
okay, then I missed that, then.
Yeah, so
All right.
if you look, we've spent $99,000 this year. I'm estimating we're going to be somewhere around 105 by the end of this fiscal year, which is March. The 45,000 that we're talking about is stuff that would be bought after March. But it's not the tires and the capital that's up above in the 25,000 that's in the maintenance.
So most of that'll come from next year's budget, then, what you're saying?
Next year's
What he has to
budget
do.
for that
Okay.
stuff, yeah.
Is there a reason we skipped over South Station building?
No, because we haven't gotten there yet. Well, yeah, I did,
Yeah,
because
you-
it's not a number. It's a discussion.
Okay, never mind. I get it.
It wasn't a number for this budget. It's a discussion item. The repairs and the fixing up of the South Station, is that what would be considered part of the fire fund, or is that considered building improvement under the general fund? Because it's the first time I've seen it. I look at things for the fire fund, it's what it takes to fight fires. So that's equipment and personnel. For a building, I look at that as a general fund requirement of the township, and it would appear in the line item of capital improvements.
Well, the fire fund
Under general
help pay for their building here. We use most of the fire department monies to pay for the building here. And the fire department money paid for that building down there too, so.
That's stuff that the history I don't know, so.
The only thing I remember is putting in the new roof on down there. I asked you about that. And I don't know. I don't know where we put it. Where we
Most
paid
of the
for it.
money put down on this building was from the fire fund.
Yes, here. Down
And
there, I
the
don't
fire
know.
fund built that down
No, but
there too.
any additional, any big expenses to that building down there, I don't remember
Came out of the
who
fire
funded
fund.
it. Fire
Fire.
fund did it, probably. They had a lot of money. Fire fund built a lot of money quickly.
Well, they didn't spend a lot of money, so they got a lot of money.
Correct.
Then it went, they were saving it for a building is what they were doing.
And then they bought a pumper.
No, then they
Oh,
bought
then they
this
built
building
that
here.
there.
The down
So-
payment on this building came from the fire fund.
So the question is, I don't know how much it's going to cost. I threw $75,000 just to put a number down. Kevin is working on trying to figure out the
Are you looking
cost.
to addition on there? Or
No.
are you looking to put an addition onto it?
No,
no,
Rebuild it.
it's kind of basically an upgrade, like the siding the siding is going every which way, because I'm not sure that they just didn't nail it right.
Okay,
with the
siding,
overall
go
siding.
ahead.
They put very dark pole barn metal for the roof, it's dark brown, which makes it look, the ceiling can't reflect the lighting, makes it look dark and gloomy in there all the time, you can't see what you're doing because that dark ceiling is just absorbing the light.
Dark ceiling mean is painted or what?
No, it's dark tan metal.
Oh,
that you put on the
inside,
floor.
inside or outside?
Inside. And the
Okay.
walls are
I've been in
kind
there
of
many times when I
the same
can't
thing,
remember that.
And the walls are always constantly cold, and I don't think there's adequate insulation in there.
Okay,
So there again, that's why we're trying to get numbers here. If we look at the siding, if we look at the insulation, how much it costs to take the interior wall down, put up new, take that ceiling down, and in doing all that, you're gonna have to remove all the conduit and everything, and probably, they get that part, replace the lights with LED.
can they put that spray foam in there for insulation between the walls?
There again,
I'm just
you're going
asking.
to be removing probably the outside and the inside wall. So, they might as well put like an R19 or whatever insulation in the wall. And then by the time you get that far, you've got all the conduit and electrical things taken off the wall and ceiling.
Are you talking the meeting room or
The base.
The bay room.
75,000
Okay.
to
Everything's
rebuild.
stored. So that will give everybody a ballpark figure on how much that would cost compared to possibly starting from scratch.
Yes, not a very big building.
Because, I mean, I don't know exactly right now how much a pole barn building, a new one of that size would cost. If we could extend out a little bit toward 31. And also, if we put a loft in there for a meeting room, you would have a little bay room down there because that meeting room on the west side would be gone. So now you've extended the whole bay area and east and west, and then put a small meeting room up top. But there again, if it's $75,000, if we're using for an example, and then we find out that it's going to cost $225,000 to build a new building, I'm just saying, I don't know, then that's up to the board to discuss. Do we take the 75 and refurbish, or we take the 75 and put it with that 225 and put a new building up? So that's where we're just trying to get numbers.
Do we want a Band-Aid or do we want
Yes.
a
Well,
building that's
Well,
worthy?
I think it's a building that is savable, just upgrade it like everybody remodels everything.
Yes, you know. and
Why tear it
that's
down
why
and-
we're getting this, because then that'll give us a figure, do we want to put that in there, and do we want to put more onto the 75,000, and then invest maybe 120 into it?
People are
Yes.
remodel all the time. I mean,
Correct. Yes.
Well, that's why I put something in here, because we need to talk about it. Do we sink the funds into that, or do we consider a new building? Well, if you figure a new building's $150 a square foot, and you've got quite a bit of square footage there, what's 30 by 50 or something like that?
it's a nice building.
Well, it's a nice building, but it's not user-friendly. And I walked in there and it's dingy, quite honestly. The bathroom is horrendous. The ceiling in the bathroom is coming down. I mean, the thing needs fixed up. And if we need to spend, if we need to spend 50 or 75 to turn that thing into something that's respectable, I'm fine with that. I'd prefer not to build a new building.
I don't either.
So I put 75,000 there just to get you guys aware that we're going to do some work. We're going to fix that thing, and it might cost that much, but we're going to work to get it under that. But
It
my
might not even cost
big
that
thing
much.
was, I didn't know, do I put it in the fire fund or do I put it in the general fund?
Fire fund.
So everybody agrees it's the fire fund, then we'll put it in the fire fund. And we'll put it in there at 75, and we'll just put it as part of the capital improvement. So there's two pieces. There's
That's a
45.
special assessment, and it's designed for that type of thing. So
That's fine. But I want to make sure before we move forward. All right.
Just a note to put in the back of your head, there is an insulation for pole buildings that is different than just,
In the walls,
yeah,
is it that silver
yeah.
stuff?
It looks like it.
Yeah.
But it's night and day in terms of our units that we have at our place and having that in there.
Yeah, I haven't crawled up in the attic station too yet. I kind of been putting that off. I was afraid to,
You can't use the regular home stuff.
you know, I don't need that shock and all, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes, so. But I am gonna take a flashlight up there and look around. So,
All right. That completes the fire unless somebody has more questions. If not, Kevin,
Well,
thank
yeah,
you
I
very
do
much.
yeah,
I
thank
do
you.
have.
Thank everybody.
Back on page 1, we skipped over contract, and I think now it's because you didn't put a number in there at all.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the blanks, the value places, and we didn't fill in anything for contracts.
Contract services.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
7,800. Well, no, because it says review, so you review the number. And,
Right, so we skipped that one, didn't we?
yeah,
Do we need to go back?
not necessarily unless you have a
Okay.
question about the number.
Is the suggested number 78?
That would be what that is what the budget was 76. We're at 65. I divided by 9 times 12 and added a little extra.
So 78 is the
Is-
correct number.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
All right.
last item are the roads. This should be fairly quick. It's the small page. If you remember, we put together a 5-year plan, actually a 10-year plan, but 5 years for the mills, the increase of the millage. Total cost for the work done in 2022 was $351,000. We started at $297,000. I did not put any cash in for the estimated millage in case it didn't pass. So we knew we were going to be short some funds. The millage passed, and the general fund loaned the road. We reviewed that. I believe it was in October. So the general fund loaned the money to the road fund. We were informed by our auditor that it was too small an amount to worry about for the interest for the short period of time that it was borrowed. So moving forward, if you look at the bottom of the page, I'm estimating based on the above information that we're going to be somewhere around 279,000 at the end of March of this year, because the millage came in at 334,000. So we had estimated the shortfall. So what we have is Bay Colony and Moulton Road. The last estimate that I got from Bert with some inflation at 5% would put us at a cost of roughly $258,000. Now, Bert and I have been in touch, and he and I are going to review all these roads and make sure that we're addressing the most needy roads. This was Bill's best estimate at the time. And so I've asked Bert if he would spend some time with me to go through it. The question I have for the board, and Alan, you specifically, because I know you did a lot on the roads before. Stone Circle Drive, I'm getting emails that the work that was done where we fixed the conduit and fixed the road grade at that low point is working. But all the ruts and potholes and all the stuff are still occurring at the bottom end of that road. So they only did that small section, and they didn't fix any of the rest. And I guess in the past they regrade it. But that's a township road, right?
Yes.
So what I do, it never popped up in the list of roads when we started doing this thing.
Well, it's gravel. And I think maybe that's why.
Is that it? Do we have more gravel roads than just Stony
Erickson Road is gravel to the,
to the east?
yes.
That's
off of
one we
31.
share with Milton, and we had all these discussions with Milton as to what to do with it, and we never did anything, if I remember.
Yeah.
Any other gravel?
Yeah, there's
It
one-
wasn't used as often. There's like just a couple primary, but it's used more now than it was in the past years. Now that the hill, the ridge is getting houses up there, they
Yeah.
access it from there, where there were never houses up there before, and it wasn't used like it is now.
Well,
Stone
supposedly,
Circle you're talking about.
there's a new
right?
house going to go up there, and I'm starting to think about cement trucks and all that stuff going on that road.
I would talk to Bert on that one, see what kind of solution he
I've
could.
sent him an email. I sent him an email with a copy of all the comments that I've gotten and said, Bert, what do we do? What
he's-
plan can we look
He's
at?
helped us with that for, like I say, it's being used more now than it ever has in the past years.
So that's one of those items that was not factored into this plan. So,
You
That-
also, you have Old Mission Estates, which is at the very end of Crestwell Road, which built, they got 5 new houses in there this year.
Where?
Old Mission Estates. And it's all dirt. It's a mess. It's all county roads. It's all dedicated to the
well,
county.
that's Bert's problem.
Well, it's really our road. He won't do anything with it.
Well, yeah, but it's not our road.
Well, again, you get into that question of, he said certain roads, they're all county. They all belong to him. He
Right.
just says, I'm not doing this one, I'm not doing
Right.
this one, you have to
Okay.
do it.
They're all county roads.
Yes, and so
It's
that's
where the
why I always
township-
get, when Jairus was here, I was asking him, he said, we're paying, no, you're not paying for anything, we are.
Mhm.
And, but
Other than state roads or US highways, the rest of it's all county roads.
All right, so I guess what I'm saying is I've got 279,000 and it may not go to Bay Colony and Milton if we have other issues in those
absolutely.
roads.
so you
So,
might look over the priorities.
yeah,
When we looked at this originally, we looked at the ending balance in 26. I said, if there's any ending balance, can we look at the possibility of paving some of our dirt roads, which I was thinking of Old Mission Estates because but there are others. There's a few others and
Yeah.
might get better consideration. We're now getting people on those roads, is my point.
well, my concern is that I was conservative in cost estimate, or not conservative, I used 5%. And if we have anything north of 5%, that's going to eat it up pretty quickly and we're not going to match it on the revenue side.
We're going to be fine with roads. I always say, it was so, I'm going to hold my comments.
So with that being said, we've got 279,000. I'll work with Bert. We'll
Yes.
figure out what's best. And
If you need help with Bert, I can come along if you need anything extra
no,
or,
Bert and I have become decent friends.
yeah.
So you might look at, see if the priorities
Yeah.
can be improved. That's all.
So
I
we'll
would,
take a relook
I
at
would
it.
rely on Bert. He knows what is needed and what is going to sustain us.
All right, so if there's no questions on the roads, then we have finished our business for this meeting. Any public comment? I see none.
So on the budget for roads, we're just going to put a dollar amount in there then?
Correct.
They're not,
Yeah.
you're not going to list these roads
No,
on?
not-
Okay.
Not at this point.
No.
Not at this point. We
Okay.
did it for purposes of cash flow analysis
Okay.
for 5 years to see if in fact how do we work the roads in? We're going to take a second look and say, okay, how are we doing it by priority and see what that does. But we have an idea what we have to play with each year.
Right.
Board comment?
No. So we have money for miscellaneous expense. Did we?
For what?
No, let's see. I want to make sure we have signs in there. We always need signs sometimes. I don't know why the sign line is out of there. Miscellaneous expenses where usually money goes in there for
Oh,
signs.
I have not pulled those. Those were really small numbers.
Because we have several signs that are down that need to be worked on from that storm we had. So I need to get a hold of Bert and some of those signs that I'm getting phone
But
calls
that's going to
on.
hit this year.
If they can get out there and get them done, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, I know we're also going to have the nature preserve. The nature preserve people went in November and asked them to adhere to the easement and the agreement that was signed 30 years ago or whatever for no parking down at the far end. We did, as part of this year's budget for the nature preserve, we put in $5,000 for the additional parking, and we said we would pick up the balance of whatever that was. They did a nice job. They cleared out that stuff. It's nice parking. We paid Bert for the hammerhead. So we've got that. Now that's going to take some maintenance. I drove down there the other day and, from all the sand coming on, we're going to have to keep on that, but the hammerhead's done. They will put the fire lane signs up on the south side of the hammerhead. They wanted to maintain the parking on the north side. And the nature preserve people said, well, we would consider handicap parking only at that point. But now they've come back to me and they said, when they were at the meeting, they said no parking. They want the original agreement adhered to by the road commission. So Bert was going to go look at the new parking and figure out, how many spots versus having those extra 4 or 5 down there. And it may come back that Bert will say, okay, we'll honor the agreement and have no parking down there at the beach. That's going to take some signs and whatever. And I told Bert, let us know and what that cost is going to be, and we'll split it with you. Because I figured they have as much responsibility to ensure there's no parking there as we do. So we'll see how all that plays out.
Has
But,
anyone talked to the sheriff about that? Because he's the only one that can give tickets on there now.
well, actually, if we could make it all fire lane and emergency access, then if you'll remember, we passed a police power and turned that whole area into a fire lane. And that's when the road commission came back to us and said, you can't do that.
Right.
Kind of reneged on the deal. Turns out in looking at it, Kevin has found out that as fire chief, he does have authority to hand tickets out in fire lanes. So in that particular case, if we could make that all fire lane, then we would have additional authority to do that.
With
Kevin.
Kevin, is only the chief can give the ticket?
Only the chief that we're aware of.
Okay,
But I don't want to get too far ahead of
yep,
ourselves.
don't,
But the idea is that they have, to my knowledge, Bert hasn't told me when the next road commission meeting is, but I told Bert I will go to that meeting and find out what their decision is. And if they insist on the parking, then we have something to decide at a township level.
well, they came back with us and they said that we're trying to restrict access. We are not trying to restrict access. I mean,
Well, that's why we built the extra parking.
well, that's the road commission saying that to us, and I'm saying, we
Yep.
don't do that. I mean, we're, you know.
Well, the problem was there was a discussion held and things that thought were agreed to ended up not being agreed to. And so, but Bert has been fantastic in working through all of this. And I think it's, as I tell the nature preserve, it's one step at a time. And right now we're at the step that the road commission has seen the documents associated with the agreement. They understand there's no parking down there, and they signed the agreement 30 years ago. So they have to decide how they want to handle it. Once they make that decision, hopefully it's a decision that they'll respect the no parking. If it's not, then we have to work with Nature Preserve as the township guardian to figure out what we want to do next. So that's a story to be continued.
Well, it's a work in progress.
Yep. All right, well.
So do we have different dates for the next meetings, or what are we
Oh,
doing?
thank you for bringing that up.
I got my calendar. I
August
just gonna-
or January 23rd, the Planning Commission's meeting last night was short. They were short 2 people, and so therefore they didn't want to conduct all of the business that was on the agenda. So they rescheduled the balance of the agenda for our Monday meeting of January 23rd. My feeling is we've covered the biggest parts of the budget that I think with just the general fund and, a couple knickknacks there, that we could do that in one meeting and also then just say, package it together and say, we're ready to go with the budget. I have a conflict. Yeah, Mike.
Sarah sent out an email earlier today, asking to move that meeting.
Oh, really? All right.
On the 23rd.
Because she thought we had a meeting here. She said she was going to get a hold of you. Did she?
No, but we could, ours is not that critical. I can move it. I've got, I do it because I want people, they're not coming. But I also, when people come to the meeting and say, what are you spending all your money on? I can say, where were you? If you have a problem, we put this stuff out in this format. And if you want copies of things, you can get them because I had Bob put them out on the website. What I'd like to do is, because I'll get with Sarah and tell her she needs to run that meeting because that was the only day she could get everybody. The only person they didn't know about was Bill. So I don't want her messing up the planning commission for
Bill
our budget
Dorbeck?
meeting.
That's the ZBA you're talking about.
No, planning
Oh,
commission.
planning commission.
The ZBA is the day after our meeting next week.
Right.
So we had meetings scheduled for the 23rd and the 30th. And I have a conflict on the 23rd because I'll have to be at the PC meeting. And then the 30th, I have a conflict that's come up. So I can pick any day. Thursdays are bad, but I'll do whatever the board can do. I mean, what would be the 31st of January? That's a Tuesday.
Mhm.
Any known conflicts for the 31st?
Nope.
And I would say, we know if we look at the budget for what's left in the general fund, the vast majority of those are going to be pretty simple.
And everyone's supposed to turn in their sheets to you anyway.
There's-
Have you been
there's-
getting them from everybody?
They didn't
Departments?
have to get them in, I think, until the 16th.
Okay.
I thought it was the 16th that everybody needed to get their individual ones in. And
Okay.
right now I've got Andy's for the PC, I've got Laura's for the ZBA, and I've got Sarah's for the zoning. So I got those three. I've got mine.
I gave you mine and assessing. I just got to do the
Yep.
order review.
Yep. And so then
So
you've got the
Kathy's-
clerk and elections. And, I've talked to Jenny. Parks is the next big one. Yeah. Well, I sent her the email. No, I've seen her email, but I sent an email to
So
everybody and
She was on
laid
that
it all
email.
out. I included her. Well, it's kind of hard not to know it's in the general fund when she's working on the accounting stuff. So I'll talk to her.
So we're talking the 31st,
Yep,
and what time?
6:15. Michael, how's your schedule? Or your assistant? Okay,
So we'll take it from the,
I'm sorry?
So what about the 23rd?
We're canceling that,
Just totally?
totally. Yeah, because,
And then just doing this one with
and all we're going to cancel the 23rd and the 30th, and we're going to do it on the 31st. I will get a revised agenda and post it. And I will have Bob go out on the website and just tell them canceled and then post to the January 31st date.
and then you'll get a hold of Sarah to make sure.
I'm going to, well, yeah, I'll get a hold of her, but I think it's a real mistake. They need to get started on things. And a budget meeting does not take priority over the planning commission.
Okay,
All right, well, I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. 8:50.
Opposed? Thank you very much.